I used to think late-night workouts were the best kind. No crowds, no waiting, no distractions. Just you, your thoughts, and the quiet. That's why I signed up for a 24-hour gym called Iron Haven Fitness on the outskirts of a small town in Pennsylvania. At first, it was perfect. Now I won't even drive past it. My name is Marcus, and this happened about 8 months ago. I worked as a night delivery driver, so my schedule was backwards. I'd get off work around midnight, grab something to eat, and head to the gym around 1:30 or 2 a.m. For the first couple of weeks, everything was normal. The gym was always empty at that hour. Maybe once or twice I'd see another person, but most nights it was just me. I got used to the silence. I got used to the feeling of being alone. That was my first mistake. The first thing I noticed wasn't even that scary. Just strange. I was on the treadmill near the front windows, watching my reflection in the glass while I ran. The street outside was empty, just a few flickering streetlights and an occasional passing car. After about 10 minutes, I glanced behind me. All the other treadmills were off. No one else was there. I looked back at the glass. And for a split second, I saw someone standing behind me, not moving. Just there. I turned immediately. Nothing. I even stepped off the treadmill and checked the entire row. Empty. Great, I muttered, seeing things already. I laughed it off and kept running. But I didn't look at the glass again that night. A few nights later, something else happened. I was in the weight section, doing bench presses near the mirror wall. Halfway through my set, I heard a metallic clink from across the room. I sat up and looked over. One of the cable machines was moving. The handle was being pulled down slowly, then released. Clink, like someone was using it. But there was no one there. I stared at it, trying to make sense of it. "Hello?" I called out. No response. The machine stopped moving. I got up and walked over, checking the area. Empty. The front door hadn't beeped. No one had come in. I stood there for a few seconds longer than I should have, then shook my head and went back to my workout. But from that point on, I kept feeling like I was being watched. I should have trusted that feeling. The real turning point happened about 3 weeks in. It was a Thursday night. I remember because I had just finished a long shift and almost skipped the gym entirely. But I went anyway. That decision still bothers me. I got there around 1:45 a.m., swiped my key card. The door unlocked with the usual beep. But the moment I stepped inside, something felt off. The air was colder than usual. Not just air conditioning, this felt heavy, like the temperature had dropped suddenly. I ignored it and started my workout. Everything was normal for about 20 minutes. Then I noticed the clock. There was a digital clock mounted above the water fountain. Bright red numbers. I checked it when I arrived. 1:47 a.m. I remember that clearly. After my warm-up, I went to grab water. I glanced at the clock again. 1:49 a.m. That didn't seem right. It felt like more time had passed. I checked my phone. 2:18 a.m. I frowned and looked back at the wall clock. Still 1:49. Must be broken, I muttered. I went back to my workout. A few minutes later, the music stopped. Just cut off. No fade. No warning. 1 second it was playing. The next, silence. Complete silence. Even the hum of the machine seemed quieter. I stood there, holding a dumbbell, listening. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Behind me. Slow. Measured. I turned around quickly. No one. The gym was still empty. But the footsteps didn't stop. They kept going, circling somewhere just out of sight, like they were moving around me, but never appearing. "All right, not funny," I said, my voice shaky. No response. I decided to leave. I didn't care about finishing my workout anymore. I grabbed my bag and started toward the exit. Halfway there, I passed the mirror wall, and I made a mistake. I looked at my reflection. I wasn't alone. Standing directly behind me, close enough to touch, was a figure. Tall, its head tilted slightly, its arms hanging too low. I froze. My reflection was staring straight ahead. But the figure behind me wasn't reflected properly. It looked distorted, like it didn't belong in the mirror. I spun around. Nothing there. I turned back to the mirror. The figure was still there, right behind me. My breath caught in my throat. Slowly, very slowly, the figure in the mirror started to move. It leaned closer to my reflection, closer to my face. I could feel something behind me. Cold, close. But when I tried to move, I couldn't. My body wouldn't respond. I was stuck, completely frozen. Then I heard it. A voice, right next to my ear. "You stayed too long." The words were barely above a whisper, but they felt heavy, like they weren't meant for human ears. I forced my body to move, just enough to take a step forward. The feeling behind me vanished instantly. I didn't look back. I didn't check the mirror again. I just ran. I reached the front door and swiped my card. Nothing. Again. Nothing. "Come on!" I shouted, slamming the card against the reader. Behind me, I heard footsteps again. This time louder. Faster. Getting closer. I ran to the emergency exit at the side of the building and pushed it open. The alarm blared as I stumbled outside. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I sat there for a long time, trying to calm down, trying to convince myself I hadn't just lost my mind. Eventually, I drove home, locked every door, left all the lights on. The next day, I went back. Not at night. In the middle of the afternoon, the gym was packed. Music playing, people everywhere. It felt completely normal, like nothing had ever happened. I went to the front desk to cancel my membership. The employee, a guy probably in his early 20s, looked bored as he pulled up my account. "Canceling?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, "effective immediately." He nodded. "Can I ask why?" I hesitated, then decided to just say it. "Does anything weird happen here at night?" He paused, just for a second, then forced a small laugh. "Like what?" I leaned closer. "Like things moving, hearing stuff, seeing someone when no one's there." His expression changed. The smile disappeared. He glanced toward the back office, then back at me. "You usually come in late, right?" he asked quietly. My stomach tightened. "Yeah." He nodded slowly. "Yeah. You're not the first person to say something like that." I felt a chill run down my spine. "What do you mean?" He lowered his voice. "There used to be a trainer here, overnight shift." I didn't say anything. I already knew where this was going. "One night," he continued, "he didn't clock out." My chest felt tight. "They found him the next morning." "Dead?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, in the middle of the gym." I swallowed hard. "What happened?" The employee hesitated, then said, "The cameras showed him working out like normal." I felt my hands go cold. Then at exactly 1:49 a.m., he just stopped. My heart skipped. "Stopped?" "Yeah," he said, just stood there. Silence filled the space between us. "For how long?" I asked. He looked me straight in the eyes. "Until morning." I didn't ask anything else. I didn't need to. because I already knew what he had been looking at. I never went back. Not during the day, not at night, not ever. Because now I understand something I didn't before. Some places aren't empty when they look empty. Some places wait. And if you spend enough time there, they start to notice you. I never used to believe in bad places. You know what I mean? Those locations people swear feel wrong for no logical reason. I always thought that was just paranoia, or people letting their imagination get the best of them. That changed because of a gym. My name is Nikhil, and this happened when I was living in a rented apartment on the edge of the city. It was one of those quiet neighborhoods where everything shuts down early, except for one place. A 24-hour gym called Core Flex Fitness. It was about a 10-minute walk from my place. Cheap membership, decent equipment, and most importantly, it was empty at night. I worked freelance, so my schedule was completely messed up. I'd be awake at 2 a.m. like it was noon. So naturally, I started going to the gym around that time. At first, it was perfect. No waiting, no noise, just me, the machines, and the low hum of the air conditioning. But the longer I went there, the more I started noticing things that didn't make sense. The first time something felt off, I ignored it. It was around 2:15 a.m. I had just started on the treadmill near the front glass wall. Outside, the streetlights cast this dim orange glow through the windows. I remember glancing outside while jogging. The street was completely empty. Then I looked back at the reflection in the glass, and for a split second, I thought I saw someone running on the treadmill behind me. I turned immediately. No one. Every treadmill except mine was off. I stared at them for a few seconds, trying to figure out what I'd just seen. Maybe it was just my reflection at an angle. Maybe I imagined it. I shook it off and kept running. But after that, I kept checking behind me. The second incident happened about a week later. I was in the free weights section, doing bench presses. That part of the gym had a long mirror wall. You could see almost everything behind you if you paid attention. Halfway through my set, I noticed movement again. Not directly, but in the mirror, near the cable machines. Something shifting. I paused mid-rep and looked closer. For a moment, it looked like someone was standing there. Tall, still, watching. I dropped the bar back onto the rack and sat up quickly. When I turned around, nothing. The entire area was empty. I stood there, heart pounding, scanning every corner. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. I even checked the locker room. No one. The main door hadn't beeped either, which meant no one had entered. That's when I started feeling it. That quiet, creeping sensation that I wasn't alone. Even when I clearly should have been. I should have stopped going at that point. But I didn't. Because nothing actually happened yet. No direct interaction, no proof. Just small, weird moments. And I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. The real change started one night when I noticed the clock. There was a digital wall clock above the water station. Bright red numbers, impossible to miss. I checked it when I arrived. 2:07 a.m. I remember clearly because I was late. I started my workout, did about 20 minutes of cardio, then moved to weights. At some point, I got thirsty and walked over to the water station. I glanced at the clock again. 2:09 a.m. I frowned. That didn't make sense. It felt like I'd been there much longer. "Battery issue," I muttered. I went back to my workout. Another 15 to 20 minutes passed. At least that's what it felt like. I checked the clock again. 2:09 a.m. Still, not moving. I felt a strange unease settle in my chest. I pulled out my phone. 2:47 a.m. I slowly looked back up at the wall clock. Still stuck at 2:09. That's when I noticed something else. The gym felt quieter. Too quiet. The air conditioning sound was gone. The faint background music was gone. Everything felt muted, like the entire space had been sealed off from the world. I decided to leave. Not panic, just leave. I grabbed my bag and started walking toward the exit. That's when I heard it. A soft metallic click from behind me. I stopped, turned around slowly. One of the machines, a lat pull-down, had its weight stack slightly lifted. Then it dropped. Clink. Like someone had just released it. I stared at it. Frozen. Then it happened again. Clink. The handle above moved slightly, as if someone invisible was pulling it down. My mouth went dry. Not funny, I whispered, even though I was completely alone. Then from somewhere deeper in the gym, I heard footsteps. Slow, dragging slightly, getting closer. I didn't wait. I turned and walked faster toward the exit. Not running, yet. Just fast enough to get out. But as I reached the door, it didn't open. I swiped my card. Nothing. Again. Nothing. The usual green light didn't appear. Come on, I muttered, pressing it harder. Behind me, the footsteps continued. Closer. I could hear them clearly now, each step echoing against the rubber floor. I swallowed hard and turned around. That's when I saw it, standing near the middle of the gym floor. A figure, tall, unnaturally thin. Its arms hung too long at its sides. Its head tilted slightly, like it was trying to understand me. It wasn't detailed. It didn't look like a normal person. It looked like a shadow that had been given shape. And the worst part, it wasn't reflected in the mirror behind it. I could see the empty gym in the mirror, but not the figure. My chest tightened. Who are you? I managed to say. The figure didn't respond. It took a step forward. No sound. The footsteps I'd heard earlier didn't match its movement. Those had been heavier, louder. This thing moved silently. Then, right behind me, I heard another step. Loud. Close. I spun around. Nothing there. I turned back. The figure was closer now. Much closer. Panic finally took over. I ran. Not toward the front door, but toward the emergency exit at the side. I pushed it open and stumbled outside into the cold night air. I didn't stop running until I reached my building. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to find a logical explanation. But there wasn't one. A few days later, I went back. Not to work out, just to cancel my membership. This time, it was daytime. The place looked completely normal. Busy, loud, full of people. Like nothing had ever been wrong. I went to the front desk and told the manager I wanted to cancel. He didn't ask many questions, just nodded and started processing it. Before leaving, I hesitated. Then I asked, "Has anything unusual ever happened here at night?" He paused, just for a second, then forced a small smile. "Why do you ask?" I shrugged. "Just curious." He looked around, making sure no one was listening, then leaned slightly closer. "Some people don't like the overnight hours," he said quietly. "That's not what I asked," I replied. He sighed. "There was an incident," he admitted. My stomach tightened. "What kind of incident?" He hesitated again, then said, "A member, about 2 years ago. He used to come in around the same time you mentioned." I felt a chill run down my spine. "What happened to him?" The manager's voice dropped even lower. "They found him inside the gym one morning." I swallowed. "Dead?" He nodded. "But that's not the strange part." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. "The cameras," he continued. "They showed him working out all night. Normal, nothing unusual." I leaned in slightly. "Then what?" The manager looked me straight in the eyes. "At around 2:09 a.m., he just stopped. My heart skipped. Stopped? He stood still, the manager said, right in the middle of the gym. My chest tightened, like he was looking at something. He added. I felt my hands go cold. How long did he stand there? I asked. The manager swallowed. Hours. Silence hung between us. Until morning, he said finally. I didn't ask anything else. I didn't need to. Because I already knew. 2:09 a.m. The clock. The silence. The feeling. I never went back. Not even during the day. Because some places don't just feel wrong. They hold something. Something that waits. Something that doesn't follow time the way we do. And sometimes, if you stay long enough, it notices you.